this for you again today.
Alright, so we left Marek's name on the screen for his memory, because he's now going to be banned from our conference. This is not the first time he did this to me. Guys, I'm not a lawyer. We do media, but I know all the news and see all the regulation updates, but it's best to leave this to the experts. So I have the notes from Marek, by the way. We start with Eva. Tell us about basic information about the Polish market, licensing, maybe talk about turnover tax and of course the casino monopoly, which is very interesting in this part of our European area, in Central and Eastern Europe, because it's happening in other countries as well.
All right, thank you. So let me give you some basic facts, because maybe some of you doesn't know the Polish market and the Polish regulations. So we have a Polish Gambling Act in Poland, which regulates gambling in Poland. Polish market is very heavily regulated. So basically, we have just some only two products which are available regarding online business to apply for a license, which is betting and promotional lotteries. So other online products are covered by the state of monopoly. So not much for you for business regarding online. Regarding land-based, you may apply for a license, for a casino license in Poland. It's of course possible, but it's a long process, but it's affordable. Also, regarding some figures and facts about the Polish gambling market, every year Ministry of Finance publish some data regarding how big still is the grey zone in Poland, and I read yesterday, just to remind myself, that it's still about more than 20% of the market is the grey zone in Poland, so it's better than in previous years, because it was always like 40 or 30%. Of course, these are data provided by the Ministry of Finance, so based on some research done by one company, so you may have different figures, but this is something which was published on the Ministry of Finance website. Anyway, like I said, our market is very regulated. So regarding licenses, if you want to be present on the online business in Poland, most probably you will apply for the betting license. And the process is quite complicated based on the Polish gambling law. It should take you like around 6 months from the moment you will apply for a license to the moment you should receive the license, but usually it takes much longer than only 6 months. Of course, you need to provide a couple of documents, like some terms and conditions. You need to be compliant with the AML regulation and many others to give you like in details to provide you with all details. We would have to have really much more time than maybe 30 minutes. What else? You mentioned tax, yes? So in Poland, unfortunately, I say unfortunately because there is still a discussion about how that we want to switch from the regulation we have to GGR, because in Poland it's 12%, but based on tax, not. So we do not have a GGR in Poland regarding taxes. I heard that there was a discussion last year. There is a discussion going on this year about to introduce the amendments to the Polish Gambling Act to introduce GGR into the Polish market, but still we do not have an effect about that. I know that there was we will see. I do not expect that this year or the next year we will have any changes regarding either taxes or the gambling acts, mainly because we will have presidential elections next year, and maybe our government waits with some amendments to some acts till the moment we will have a different person who will be a president. So we will see, but like I said, I do not expect any major changes this for sure not this year. I heard also from the Ministry of Finance, we asked him directly through the some chamber of the companies whether they plan any changes to the gambling law. So we got the response that they are considering, they are doing the research, so nothing no details.
Probably gathering information how to market the elections politically on social media.
Most probably, yes. So basically, that's how it looks like. Do I miss anything from your list?
Casino monopoly.
Casino monopoly, yes. So you, as an entrepreneur, you are not able to open an online casino in Poland because it's covered by the state monopoly. We have only one legal casino in Poland, which is Total Casino, operated by the Totalizator Sportowy, which is a state-owned company. But like I mentioned, there is a possibility to apply for the land-based casino license. So this is the only one option regarding casino the business have at this present moment.
Right, it sounds better than 2 years. Last year we had a panel in Prague. You were there with Anna, and both of you were very it's not good, but now it's better. You are much happier.
There's no other choice, I guess.
You accept it. All right, Adam. So advertising and promotions. You were supposed to talk about that. I will get back to you about a different question. Let's talk about advertising and promotion and the definition of the public by the government, and also maybe some latest observation in terms of authorities' approach to advertising on the internet.
Yes, sure. So, as I've already mentioned, Poland is very heavily regulated jurisdiction, both in terms of formalities to get the license and products available to private operators, but of course it's also very heavily regulated with respect to advertising and promotion of gambling products, including actually state monopoly, and we know it very well from representatives from Totalizator Sportowy that they are also very unhappy that they cannot advertise. So there are numerous restrictions, and basically, with exception of promotional lotteries and the lottery, the national lottery, all the other gambling products, whether online or brick and mortar, basically are very strictly restricted basically to the premises and websites where you run your offer your products and services. There are also several restrictions with regard to sponsorships, which are one of the options, and actually can be used in a creative way sometimes to kind of advertise, because you can do a little bit more on the sponsorship path, and as you can display your trademark or your brand name in the information about sponsorship in a creative way, you can use it to appear a little bit more in public space than you would with classical advertising. And then when we come to advertising on the internet, and by advertising on the internet, of course, I don't mean advertising like in the open internet where everyone can go and everyone can see, but I'm speaking about advertising on various platforms, social media and so on, where in theory to see the adverts you need first to have your account registered on the platform, you need to log in, and then also some kind of profiling takes place to display the advertising to you. So the problem is that when all the regulations on advertising, and it's not just about the gambling products, but also services in Poland, like alcoholic beverages, tobacco, pharmaceuticals, and so on, were enacted. Let's be honest, the internet in Poland was at very, very early stage, maybe used in some scientific institutions. It was still the era of faxes and that sort of stuff, and when you went to the court, they were still using typing machines to produce the documents. So obviously nobody thought about regulating explicitly internet because it was so still abstract and kind of future need, but whoops, we are like about 30 years ahead, and internet is an absolute reality. We all have smartphones, we are constantly online, here and there, on X or TikTok, Insta, and so on and so forth, and of course, digital reality is reality. But for many years, the approach was that because the internet is not explicitly named in any of the provisions on the restrictions of advertising, but the definition says that advertising is the form of public display or public incentivizing to play or that sort of stuff. So for many years, kind of unwritten state of the game was that, yes, if it's on the platform and you need to log in, or sometimes you also need to follow or like the profile or the front page to see the advertising, then it's not public because it's not objectively addressed to anyone and everyone. But again, I mean, what was maybe fine 30 years ago, what was maybe fine 20 years ago, what was maybe fine even 10 years ago, looks a little bit different today, because when you look sometimes at some fun pages or some influencers, of course, they have hundreds, if not millions of followers. So the regulator was like, I don't think we should treat it as non-public anymore, because in fact it's large numbers of people who see those things. Objectively, none of those influencers or those guys can say that they know the people who are following them. They're not their friends in the strict sense of the word. So they started changing the approach. And actually last year we've seen a wave of various proceedings instigated by various regulators in Poland, including criminal proceedings, against influencers advertising sensitive products, because it started actually with alcoholic beverages, and we had like about 20 big criminal cases, including some very famous celebrities and journalists, Thomas Hell and others being persecuted in the criminal proceedings, but then actually also proceedings regarding activities concerning gambling or actually betting products also started. So it started not just with influencers who are advertising, well, let's say black market or gray market products, but it's actually started also against influencers who had like fully legal partnerships with fully licensed operators in Poland and doing it kind of according to the rules, so marking it clearly that it's in cooperation, pretending that by accident something showed up. Of course, it still needs to be seen how that will develop further. Of course, it's a bit of a sign that sometimes certain social expectations and certain pressures can instigate change of the things, but one of the factors definitely which resulted in that is that this technological change that simply internet became much more, if not primarily influential media these days, and the regulator decided that okay, it's probably the time to reconsider the approach and what was okay for many years. It doesn't seem to be okay any longer, but of course the problem is that we are all the time moving in a kind of a gray zone, because if you look at the regulations, it's definitely not clear, it's definitely not said black and white that you cannot do those things. There are a lot of
soccer where Elon Musk is paying attention and going to focus on Poland and give some pride. Alright, so Eva, I have a question for you about the nature of games. Are there any decisions on the nature of games and what is a game of chance and what is not in the view of the regulator?
Alright. So the game of chance is one of the four main categories which you can find in the Gambling Act. And of course there's a question, what does it mean, game of chance, based on the Polish regulation. So if you are a foreign operator and want to enter the Polish market with a certain game and you are not sure whether this particular game is a game of chance or not, there is a procedure you may ask the Ministry of Finance, providing, of course, fulfilling the whole application, providing the Ministry of Finance with the description, the terms and conditions of the game, and then, of course, you have to pay the fee to the Ministry of Finance. It's more than 10,000 Polish zloty. I do not remember exactly how much is as of today. So that's the sort of the. I think it's not more than 15,000 of Polish zloty. But
if they refuse to give the interpretation, they give your money back.
But then there's no other choice. Of course, you can go to the court with this decision. But it's a long process, I guess. So nobody wants that. People want to do business, not to litigate not even for 1 year. That could take longer in Poland, assuming that there is still the Supreme Court in the end, so it's sometimes years. Going back to the procedure, so if, of course, nobody asks if you feel or you know that it could be a gambling product because it's like then, like Piotr said, and then you are getting a no-go decision and that's it. But there are certain games who are they are close to the gambling, but still they can be recognized as not a gambling. So it's a very, very often a challenge for us, for lawyers, to present it in a way that to show to the Ministry of Finance that certain conditions are not met, and in the end the game is not gambling. Of course, we have to do it in accordance with all these provisions, these court decisions, interpretations, etc. But I have to tell you that very often, I think that we have the fastest process in Europe, because the fastest decision I received was in 2 weeks. So my client from Sweden told me, oh my goodness, Eva, in UK I waited more than 6 months, and here 2 weeks. So, it was a good decision for the client. So it's good to know that there is such a procedure in accordance with the Polish law. But also you asked me about how to describe, what kind of factors we need to consider trying to answer when we have a game of chance and when it's not a game of chance. Based on the latest court decisions, not only on the regions level, but also regarding decisions of the Supreme Court, if there is an element of chance, usually it will be difficult to avoid the Gambling Act. There is no, I read recently a decision of the Supreme Court that in accordance with the Polish law, it doesn't matter whether the element of chance is, at the level of 10 or at the level of 5. If it exists in the game, it could be then still recognized as a game of chance. But also there was the interesting decision of the, Supreme Court as well, that if you as a foreign entrepreneur if you enter the Polish market and you know, or you should know that there is that kind of procedure, that you may ask for a decision whether your product is gambling or not, and you did not did not go and not ask the Ministry of Finance, that it will be then used against of you, that you had this possibility, and it means that you even somehow acted, it will be then, if in case of any criminal case, it can be used against of the entrepreneur. even though there was such a possibility, it was not used.
So you cannot say, I did not know. Sorry.
Yeah, and then if you don't know, you could go and ask the Ministry of Finance about the decision. That's what I read in the Supreme Court justification.
Also, my experience is requesting the interpretations from the ministry is that the Polish Ministry of Finance is not very famous for providing any kind of guidance or binding positions or on anything because they don't like it. So my experience is that even if you apply for this official interpretation, which of course is kind of risky because you're already putting your heads up and you need to describe in quite detail what you're planning to do, so definitely you will not get under the radar anymore because you kind of already came out, you may be coming out in front of the ministry, but my experience is that they tend to define their scope of competence of what they can give interpretation or not very narrowly, and they very much look for good reasons to say, oh no, that goes beyond interpreting the regulations of the Polish Gambling Act and refusing actually to give any interpretation. Because I was doing a couple of requests relating to live dealer studio operations, which of course per se are not gambling because are just simulated gambling for the video content production, so obviously there is no real game taking place, but of course there are elements which are similar to gambling, and we requested this, and yeah, the response was no, not the type you would expect, so like, oh, because it's this and that and it's just simulated, it doesn't fall under the regulation of gambling law. It was the other way around.
So maybe this is a good
Oh, you are asking about audiovisual production, not about games, so we are refusing to give you a response. And then, of course, you can try to interpret between the lines. If they don't say straight that it's a gambling game, then a contrario, it isn't, but of course it doesn't give you the same comfort as having a letter in your hand, just stating it's okay, you can do it, it doesn't fall under the regulation. And then the second problem which we have with regard to games of chance is this, of course, endless discussion how to treat the catalog of the games which are typified in the act. Because of course we have this very nice general definition of games of chance, which basically anything which has any element of chance is game of chance. So even Kinder Surprise X are a game of chance because you never know what you will get inside. So objectively looking at the definition, it is a game of chance. And then you have certain categories of games and products which are defined in more detail. And of course where you have procedures how to obtain a license, or you have clear information that you cannot get a license because it's subject to state monopoly or whatever. But then there is a problem, of course, with a number of games which have like 80% of features which are as those typified games, but for example are free to play. So there is no element of actual bet because you are not betting, but still typing the result and you can win something, but you just don't invest any money, or social casino, or plenty of other products which resemble the regulated products but miss certain features. And there is this endless discussion, since all of those would anyway fall under the definition of games of chance, does it mean that they are games of chance, so they are regulated by the Gambling Act, but if there is no specific procedure to obtain the license, it means you cannot organize them because they are games of chance, they are regulated, but there is no license for them, or the other way around. If they are games of chance, but there is no procedure